I'm going to tell you a story that happened 2 years ago. When they kicked the people out of Gush Katif, I was very upset at the time. And one time I went into the mikveh, and in the news there was also a story about girls that they put in jail. They didn't want to tell us who it was, so I was very upset about this. And the mikveh, that's the place where you hear all the news. That's the parliament. Once when Bush came to Eretz Yisrael, people said, when you want to know what's going on with Am Yisrael, go to the mikveh. So Bush went to the mikveh. So he went to somebody and he says, what's no? He said, hey, shh, be quiet. Bush is supposed to be, don't tell. Bush is supposed to come to the mikveh. They hear everything that's going to happen. So one person says to them, they deserve it, these girls. He says they deserve it. Girls don't need to go to Hafganos, they should sit and say to them. So they said, I already did a Hafgana. They have to be in jail so long. That's what I said. So from here to there, in any case, it got a little bit heated. And I said, if I continue like this, I'm going to drown him in the mikveh. It's better to calm down. The past of second Dan from Japan could wake up. So he comes to me after at the table that I was davening, and he looks at me, and I look at him. And something in my look, I guess, scared him. So he said to me, "You want to hit me?" So I said, "If you won't stand around here, then yes." And he went away. So in any case, I went past him. He would look at me like this. That was the first story. There's another story. And there was a person who was by me many times for Shabbos. An older person who was very lonely. And he had a daughter. He was very by himself, but he had a daughter. And she wasn't willing to talk to him at all. And he would always cry about this. And one day I said to myself, listen, let me call her and let me explain to her what she's doing to him. To you, I said to him. So I did this and it came even worse. I had good intentions, but I didn't understand, exactly the details. So in any case, he stopped talking to me. So comes Erev Rosh Hashanah. And I remember these two things, and I say, listen, you explain to everybody tshuva, what about you? You should wake up and do something. I sat by the telephone, I wasn't able to call them. And I look at myself, you see, you're not able to call these two people, what's the big deal? Now if I call them, then they're gonna make fun of me, they're gonna say, yeah, you worked on me, you made all sorts of... So listen, I called my friend who maybe will speak to him. So I called my friend, told him the stories, and I said, listen, could you speak to him? Maybe we could make some kind of... So he said, these people are very difficult, it's not even worth dealing with them, don't pay attention to them. I said, what? Not to pay attention to them? I want to finish this, I want to get over with this. So the guy said, listen, leave me alone and find someone else, I can't do this for you. So, B'kitzur, a day before Rosh Hashanah, I remember myself like I was about to... I said, I can't... I have to make the phone call. I make a phone call to the first one, and then from the one from the mikveh. And he says, hello? I say, yeah. So I said, listen, Rav Aarmoni is speaking. I said, Moshe Aarmoni. I didn't say Rav Aarmoni. And the guy said, I don't know anyone like this, and he hung up the phone. You see how foolish I am? You see, not to call. Shouldn't have called. So I want to call the second one, and I said, listen, I want to do something good, and look what happened. Look what they did to me. So I was about to dial, and so I see someone's trying to call me back. So I answered it, and it was him. He said, oh, Rav Aarmoni, now I know who you're talking about. Now I know what you're talking about. And apparently he was afraid of something, so... He said, why are you calling me? It's the most annoying when he says, why are you calling? We didn't speak for a year, we've been fighting for like cats for a year, you don't know why I'm calling. Listen, I said there's a thing that happened in the mikveh, and the guy said, what are you talking about? I knew that that you were just talking from your heart. It's nothing, it's nothing. I was so satisfied. You see, the Yetzer Hara makes such a big thing, big story out of it. And it's very simple in the end. And gave me the strength to do the second act. And I knew this would be very difficult to get in touch with him, to call him for me. It would be very difficult, so I called his neighbor. I asked his neighbor to speak to him. And in case I call him, and I say, listen, Tzvi, you know this neighbor of yours? And he says, leave me alone, I don't want to deal with him. He's a very difficult person, leave me alone. I said, listen, it's Rosh Hashanah almost. Do me a favor and go to him and speak to him for me. So he says, you know what? For you, I'll go to speak to him. Now it goes like this: from my house to Tzvi is 5 minutes, and from Tzvi to the other person's house is 5 minutes also. So from him to me is 10 minutes walk. So I put the telephone down. After 5 minutes, he's knocking on my door. I hear knocking on the door. I open up the door and I see both of them are standing. Tzvi and Uzi are standing by me. I said, listen, something here is not normal. I know that it takes you have to go to him for 5 minutes, and to go back home is 5 minutes, and then come to my house is another 5 minutes. If everything works out perfect, then it'll take quarter of an hour. How do you get in 5 minutes? He said, listen, as I was going out, instead of knocking on his door, he was about to knock on my door. And I said, where are you going? And I said, he's going to Avromoni. And we said, why? Because Avromoni wanted you to speak to Avromoni. Oh, so he just spoke to me, and they came to me in the end, and then became a big simcha. Why did I explain this whole thing in elaboration? Yetzer Hara drives us crazy to do tshuva. It seems so hard, so difficult to ask tshuva. People are going to make fun of us. It's not true. You have to know when a person comes to his friend. In these days, the hearts are open, and when a person tries to do tshuva in these days, people value it. What did Uzi say to me? Uzi said to me like this. He said, Erev Rosh Hashanah, people call you, and you're not going to run to his house to finish it. I heard you called for my Indian. I would have gone all the way to the house. You should know the hearts are open, and it's a time to open the heart even more, and to do the tshuva in these areas. All this comes from the fact that people don't think. The Nesira that we're in the Sesame Tshuva. I'm sorry, before we explain the Nesira, we'll explain one thing: the Dormita, which is the sleeping. What is the sleeping? It's Rosh Hashanah. If Rosh Hashanah is a time of sleeping, Dormita, the Rizal calls it Dormita. They had some kind of influence apparently from Spain, so they called it Dormita. In any case, if Rosh Hashanah relates to the Dormita, each one of us have to take two pills Erev Rosh Hashanah and go to sleep for 2 days. Not 1 day, for 2 days. Also, if in Shemaim they're sleeping, also we should be sleeping. We have to understand that we are in a battle, not only between us and ourselves, but it's even greater than that. The classical example of this, in one drop of water, there are all sorts of microorganisms. All sorts of creations in one drop of water on the ground. And what are they fighting over? They're fighting over territory. They don't even know the summer's going to come and everything's going to be dried. There's going to be nothing left. You come and fight against this person to give me cover, this person did this to me, this person said that to me. You know what's going to be tomorrow? You know what's going to happen to you in another moment? Does anyone know? 100% that you're going to be going like normal? Look at your life. See how much choice you have in your life. Almost nothing. Each person think about how he got married to his wife or his husband. How did you meet him? If you didn't go to that particular place at that particular time, you didn't see them, think that that person was shaykh for that person, I wouldn't have gotten married. He wouldn't have got married to someone else, and their whole lives would have been different. You went to a certain place, someone saw you and offered you a job. If you didn't go to that place, you wouldn't have gotten that job. Our whole lives would have changed. Everything that happens in our lives is changed in one moment, and you didn't decide this. A person goes out of his house, and a car hits him, and his whole life changed. Now he becomes a cripple, and someone in his house, they fall from tripping on a cord, and their whole life changes. These are changes that we don't decide. These are things that are forced upon us. A person sees his choice, what his choice is, he sees he almost has no choice. Your choice is how do you deal with what happens to you. That's your main bechira. Two brothers got legs cut off. One got through a car accident. Another one got a certain disease, and they had to save him by cutting his leg. One person's happy his whole life. He thinks about how he was saved. Another one thinks that he lost his career. He was supposed to be a dancer, and now he can't do anything. They're in the same exact situation, and each one of them chose to look at the other side. One person chooses to look at the full half. Another person chooses to look at the empty half, and that's the whole life. And that's the main bechira, is in there. And we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rosh Hashanah, that we want to be awake. We want to decide the important decisions in our lives. And this choice means to come close to you, to recognize that you pull the strings. That if something happens here in this world, it's not the stick that's hitting us. It's not the Isurim. It's all the Isurim. From all the Isurim, I have to learn the lesson and to change. This is life. Not for that, what's life for? The reason I'll give a special yichud for these days, these days are days of tshuva. I look see if the reason I had all sorts of calculations with gematrias in this pasuk. What's this pasuk saying in Pshat? And I see this pasuk is speaking about the machlokas on the second day of the Bria, between the upper waters and lower waters, where the lower waters they weren't happy with the fact that the water separated them, and part of the water put on top of the rakia, and part of the water put underneath the rakia. And these waters said, I want to also be next to Hashem. Why only the upper waters get to be next to Hashem? Why not only him? I'm deserving of this. I didn't think so much. So they broke through and they started going up. And Hashem screamed at them, so to speak, and kicked them, so to speak, and said, go back to your place. So it says, with this azus, that they didn't know to recognize their place, we're going to give them nativa, give them a place, a way. So fine, we understand this inyan. We have to do what Hashem says. But this isn't shaykh to this tkufa. This is a tkufa of tshuva. What's a tkufa of tshuva? We have to be closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's not matim. Here we see someone in the Bria want to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem screams at him. Why should he scream at them? He should help him. He should say it's good. Chutzpah filu klape shmei mahanya. Chutzpah helps even towards Shamayim. You see that Bilam had chutzpah and he wanted to go with the Balak, and Hashem said, "Fine, go." Helped. That's why Mashiach is called Ben Partzi, because he needs az to kedusha. But also, this az to kedusha also has to be limited. There's something greater than tshuva. You should know. And this is the great musar of these days. What's more important than tshuva? More important than tshuva is to know your place. You should know the place they put you in, the mishpacha that you have, the friends that you have, the job that you have, and even the sins that you did in your past. It's all hashgacha pratis. You have to know your place. Tshuva does not mean take the place take your world that you were in and then go to a different place. That's tshuva tata, the Zohar says. What is tshuva? Tshuva is tashuv hey. What is tashuv hey? The Shem Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei. And you take the Hey Achrona, the last Hey, which is Malchus, the Shechina Kedusha, and you threw it with the person's sin into the dirt. Now this Hey is in the mud. You separated the name of Havaya, as it says V'nigan Mafid Oluf. You separated Hashem Yisbarach. There are two ways to attach it again. Either you take the Hey and clean it, and then put it in the air to dry it out, and then attach it to the Yud Kei Vav. That the Zohar says tshuva tata. There's a higher tshuva where you take the Yud Kei Vav and you bring it down also into the mud. So then there, inside the mud, you should make a small place where there's a Shem Havaya. A small part of Hashem inside this lowly place. Hashem wants that there should be a dir b'tachtonim. Specifically here in this world, in this difficult world, He wants a place here. If Hashem made us as malachim, He would have left us in Olam Atzilus. There everything is clean. There you go, chara. But since He put us here in this world, and He created this world mostly evil, you have to know there is evil here. We have to bring Him here into this world, and that's the main inyan of tshuva. We have to make a place for Kadosh Baruch Hu where you are found, where you are. That's the main tshuva. Therefore, when a person looks at his life and sees which way Hashem is bringing him, then he can go with that until the end. As Zohar Kodesh says, a person goes here in this world, and he thinks this world is his father's, and he'll be here forever. Even if he lives 1,000 years, and the day that he dies, he's going to say, it passed like a dream. They're going to look at the past 40 years that passed. I thought it shows 20. Time passes so quickly when a person isn't even cognizant of the fact that time passes. The person does not grab onto the mitzius and do everything he can, then he's losing out with time. There's nothing that a person has to cry over other than lost time.